Hi, Eric Gibaud, Gibaud.com, and today I received in this small hut in the woods in Forêt de Mervan, close to my city, the city where I was born, Fontenay-le-Comte in Vendée in France. So today I'm going to speak to you about this camera, the Pentax K3 Mark III. Pentax, sadly, probably one of the brand that is least known by newcomers to the world of photography. That's a pity, because this is a real jewel. So let's start. Before I forget, by the way, I will leave a link of where you can get this camera and also the shop, the online shop of Digiphoto, if I forget at the end, okay? So it's in description. So let's speak about Pentax. Why is it not that known worldwide or in many countries or many people, especially newcomers? Well, basically because since Ricoh bought the company, Ricoh, R-I-C-O-H, bought the company, the marketing and the way they distribute it is not as it was before. Actually, for example, I live in the Canary Islands. I have to order it if I want it. There is no in any shop, okay? So as I was in France, Digiphoto gave me a hand and send me this camera so I can test it. I'll have to return it, obviously, but I can test it, okay? So Pentax, you read the name Pentax, it comes from pentaprism, okay? That's not just luck. Yes, some relation with the inventor of pentaprism. These are reflex camera. Pentax makes only reflex, APS-C, full frame, medium format. So we're going to get into details about this one. Let's carry on. Well, I'm going to ask you a small favor. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because more brands take me into account to send me gear so I can review it on the channel. Just now, 7 artisans sent me a lens because at last they answered my email and they considered that I had enough subscribers to now be testing their gear, okay? So please, thank you very much. I could say this is the last, or not the unique, the only, I would say, company, brand that says they do not want to do mirrorless cameras. But when you check this camera, you really understand why. Because they have nothing to envy any mirrorless camera, actually. What can you compare this camera to? Well, I would say the Nikon D500 and also the Canon 7D Mark II, maybe. Yeah, that's probably this range of reflex camera. This camera is so tough. This is crazy. I don't know, maybe you saw some pictures I recommended, or website or YouTube channel of Gregory Audubert that I recommended. I'll leave you a link here. And this guy works with a K1 Mark II because it resists salty water. It makes seascapes when there are storms and everything. And it resists. This is incredible. So actually they do 3 levels of reflex: APS-C, full frame, and medium format. So we're going to speak about this one, that is APS-C. Although this camera can do videos, I didn't make any videos. Why? Because I feel this is a photography camera. Yes, there are some features, good video features. Even you have a headphone connector that many people wish they had on their camera, but I think this camera is thought for photography, okay? So there are so many features. I'm sure I will forget some of them, so I will speak about the main ones, the most important one, or the very different from other cameras, okay? And I can tell you, I tested with the 35mm f2. I didn't want to test with a basic kit lens, so I asked them if they could send me something like this, equivalent of 50mm in full frame. So this 35 2.0 to have a sensation of a pro lens, the quality, okay? And this is so solid. I'm sure I have to put a nail here to fix this plank of wood. I would do like this, ding, 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 and that would be okay. Well, actually, my friend Gregory had this K1 fall on the floor, and the K1 is still laughing. I think it hurts more Gregory heart than the camera, okay? So let's speak in details. Well, actually, one of my first camera, film camera, was a Pentax ME Super. I didn't use it more because now the battery had a leak, acid leak, and it's like need to be some serious cleaning. And as I cannot find Pentax where I am, I was a bit disconnected with the brand and what they do, all this. Although I went to the photo show in Paris, like in 2016, I think, or 2018, I'm not sure, 2018, I think, and I saw the K1, but I was not really aware of that many features they have. They have so many features. I'm really surprised. Okay, so this is, as I said, a reflex camera with a mirror. Now I have to say, because some people are not sure what reflex is, it's crazy. Sometimes they ask things, so because they're not aware anymore, you hear only about mirrorless. Yeah, reflex is the one that has mirror. Okay. It has APS-C format and the sensor is 25.7 megapixel. This is a latest generation sensor with it's back illuminated, so this is one of the latest technology. You have sensor cleaning, and well, I've been speaking a long time now about how good it is. Now let's say something that is not as good. Well, not as good. I think they've been a bit, they've been showing off, speaking about the ISO. It goes from 100 ISO up to 1.6 million ISO. Yes, you heard well, 1.6 million. When I read that, I thought, come on, serious? So I tested the ISOs. I show you the picture right now, and I would say up to 12,800 or 25,000 and something. That's okay, which is good, Then when you get to 1.6 million, I think it looks like a real pizza. And you see like the ingredients, or it's for paparazzi, and say, you see this famous guy that is hiding himself behind the noise on my picture? Well, this is 1.6 million ISO, okay? But still, I think this is really funny, okay? And one thing so I think, yeah, they don't have to envy any brand that say they have really high ISO. What they do here, beside the 1.6 million, what they have here is really okay, up to a really decent ISO height. Okay, so that's okay. One thing that is really unique to this reflex camera, because normally reflex camera, when they have stabilization, they have it in the lens. This one and the Pentax one, they have it in the body. You have IBIS 5.5 stops. This is wonderful because it means you can use vintage lenses, older lenses, and still be stabilized. So that's a big plus. And something else, when Pentax stopped using an M42 mount, which is a screw mount, they started with a K mount, and that mount is compatible with all, this camera is compatible with all the K mount, KA, all this. So it means you can actually use a 30 years old lens and still, by Pentax obviously, and still put it on here and use it. And I think this is fantastic. Here you see all the bad intention. Well, good intention, I mean, who they want to compete with, okay? Double slots, one is UHS2, the first slot, and the other one is UHS1, okay? But you have double slot, double memory SD card, okay? And when you look at the grip, the ergonomy is incredible. My hand is not that big, not that small, but you see I don't have the typical finger that falls under it. And also you have an optional grip if you want, okay? But the size is so nice. It's not that big, not the same as the K1 that is a lot bigger than this, but is everything okay? And all the buttons, we're going to look and have a look now, they fall in the right place. I really love it, you know. So when you hold this, you really have a weapon in your hand, okay? A photography weapon, obviously. The viewfinder is 100%. This is a really nice viewfinder. And also inside you have like a screen, well, you don't see it, it's a see-through screen, so you have all the information you need, like grid, like level, like any data you need to have the information of how your camera is configured. And this is so comfortable. You really feel you're in the picture, and it's really bright, among the brightest I've seen in reflex camera. When you look at there, even in low light, you really see a lot. You have diopter here, and you have the screen. The screen is not, you cannot flip it, okay? So photographers will probably like it, that you don't have a moving screen. Many like that. And also it's touchable, fully touchable. You have live view, obviously. So the logic thing is to use the viewfinder, but if you need live view, you can actually use it. So now let's carry on. Back to the screen. It's important to fine-tune the colors of your screen, because out of the box, They looked really really flat, not really colors, really flat, everything flat. So I think it's by default it comes like this, but you can actually adjust the brightness and not just brightness, maybe the saturation, all this. So I advise you do it, otherwise you look at your picture on the screen and will say, oh, what's wrong? It's something wrong here. And no, there's nothing wrong, the picture is fine, okay? But if you want to have something that looks like the picture you've just made, it will be important. Obviously you can use it in live view for video and for pictures, although it's recommended for pictures you use a viewfinder, okay? So let's do what they call the owner visit. I'm not the owner, but I'll make the visit, okay? So let's start here. You can switch on here. As you can see, if I pull one more, I've got the depth of field. That's fantastic to have it here. I think a lot easier than a button somewhere else, okay? Here you have, I've got my speed here, I've got the aperture here, and here you have wheel, so you can pick if you want a picture, live view, well, I would say picture in reflex mode, live view, or video. You can pick here. When you change it, actually change the menus also, okay? Here you have the compensation. Here you have the ISO button, you can change directly here. You have a function button, you can actually configure as you wish. Here on the back, here you have a selection wheel also. Here on this you have the exposure lock, and you have the autofocus lock. It means if you want to make the autofocus with your thumb, with the back button, in many cameras it is together with the auto exposure lock. So it means that if you lock one, you also lock the other one, and maybe it's a problem, you want it separate. So like now on my M1, it's like this, it's separated, okay? So that's really handy if you don't want to use your index to actually, your point finger to actually do the autofocus, you can do it here. So that's brilliant. Here you have the joystick to actually pick the focusing point. Here, maybe the only thing I didn't like, you have the play button here, and the play button, when you actually access it, it's really easy to touch the aperture. So I think it should be somewhere else, this button. I don't know where, but somewhere else. Because very often I went to check picture and actually move the wheel here. This is only a wrong place, I think, okay? Here you have to start recording, the pad, many buttons. Here you have a lock to lock all the buttons. Here you have the way of measuring light. Here you have the wheel, typical mode wheel, but also you have like a 5 user configured profile. If you want to unlock here, you press and you can turn, but if you don't want it to have locked always, never, okay, you can turn this wheel, change this small lever here, so it's always free to turn. So it depends on what you like. If you like without lock, well, you just move that and it's always available, otherwise you lock it. Really great. If you go on the other side, here you have a lever, so you can decide if autofocus or manual focus. Here you can change the autofocus mode. Here you have a RAW button, maybe you actually working on JPEG and you want to go on RAW file, you don't want to go inside the menu, you just press here and go for it. Here you have the SR, which is to activate the type of image stabilization. Here I'm not sure what this is. I think this is a PC connector for flash synchro, but I cannot guarantee because I could not remove it. I don't want to force it, okay, but it's not my camera, but I think you can unscrew it, I'm not sure, okay. Here you have the connectors for headphones and microphones. Here you have micro, HDMI and USB-C. On the other side you have this the card slot, but also a remote control, but you can actually also control the camera with an app, okay, on your smartphone or tablet. Here you have the screw mount, and if you look at the door, look at this, or the battery door, that's top quality. You see the sealing, all this is brilliant. By the way, this battery on one charge you can make, according to them, 800 pictures, which normally they tell you the minimum, so I think this is incredible. So let's carry on with more things, okay? Well, let's carry on with this massive list of features, okay? So let's speak about modes. The autofocus can be single, continuous, but on any camera this, okay? You have bracketing, depth of field bracketing, and this is fantastic. This is something that is typical on mirrorless, not really on reflex. So you want to make, for example, a macro photography, and you don't want to have just the tip of the leg of the fly that is in focus. You want the whole fly, okay? Well, it makes several pictures, moving the point of focus, and then it stacks all the picture together, and you get the fly completely in focus. They have this. They also have movement bracketing. Well, don't ask me what it is, I can't remember. Okay, well, they have that. They also have multi-exposure, time-lapse, and more feature we're going to speak about. The flash sync is on 1/200th of a second. I would expect 1/250th of a second of that kind of camera. I don't know why, only 1/200th. Well, that's it, okay? Shutter speed from 30 seconds up to 1/8000th of a second. Bulb mode from 1 second up to 20 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes a bit short for some people. They would prefer to have a longer time. But I think 20 minutes for me, I think it's fine, but well, depends on what you do. Something really surprising, they have effects like toy style, retro, all this to apply on pictures. I'm a bit surprised that someone who used that kind of picture of camera would use this. Well, but it's there. So that's okay, if you need it, you have it. It does HDR. For many people, HDR are these pictures with crazy colors. No, this is tone mapping. But most people make a confusion there. So HDR is high dynamic range. Actually, an HDR that is made properly, it looks like what you see with your eyes. Just that your camera doesn't see as good as your eyes, okay? So when you look at the picture, you have the shadows that will be right, the highlight that will be right, all this. So you can do HDR with this camera too, okay? You have optical correction to correct a distortion, aberration, all this. You have this on board, you can correct it. Then you have correction of the horizon. It can actually automatically, using the sensor that is floating because of the IBIS, it can actually correct the horizon. You have also electronic level to know if, see in the viewfinder, if your camera is level or not. If we look at the continuous shooting, for some people maybe it will be disappointing compared to some mirrorless result right now. But still, I think this is really honest result, and even for reflex or even for mirrorless, 12 frames per second. I think that's good, that's fine. Video, well, as I said before, I didn't do a video to show, but I'm going to tell you what it can do. 4K in 30 and 24p, and Full HD in 60, 30 and 24p. Maximum continuous recording, 25 minutes. And here there is something that's a bit surprising, Mr. Pentax. Well, half of the world has a 60 Hz electricity frequency, and they use the NTSC American format for TV. So they need 60, 30, 24, well, multiply of 60 Hz. But in Europe, Australia, and many other countries, we use 50 Hz. So we would need 50 and 25 frames per second, and it doesn't seem to be available. I'm really surprised. But anyway, I would not use this camera for doing video unless it was just from time to time for a quick clip, okay? But not serious video anyway. Things that are really interesting. You have the bulb mode is when you press the shutter, the trigger, it starts making the picture, and when you lift your finger, it stops. You can do it via the app also, okay, or remote trigger, okay? But you can also have the time instead of bulb time. It means when you press, it starts making the picture, and when you press again, it stops making it. So it's a lot more practical than having your fingers for 50 minutes or 10 minutes or less than 20 anyway, okay? Then one thing I really like is when you use a vintage lens that has no communication with the body, you can still indicate the focal length and some lens information. So your EXIF will keep this. So when you check your picture on your Lightroom or whatever software you use, you have the information that corresponds to your lens. I think this is really useful. If you're traveling and you don't have your computer with you and you work in RAW file and you say, well, I would like to publish this picture on Facebook right now, on Instagram, you can develop the RAW file in the camera. Then you can obviously export it with the Wi-Fi to your app, and then you can upload it wherever you want. Okay, so that's good to have this RAW development facility on board. The battery, as I said before, gives you about 800 pictures on one charge. But here, Mr. Pentax, you convinced me that reflex is still alive. you prove that reflex is still fantastic, and you go with this new fashion of not putting any proper charger with the camera. The charger you give is to charge a camera plug in the USB-C. But I wanted a proper charger where you remove the battery from the body and you place it in the charger and you put another battery and you go away and leave charging at home. So I don't know why you did that, and it's an optional charger to have this, okay? That's not good. That's not good. You were a great example that reflex is still alive, and you just kill me with this charger, okay? Please, okay? Aside the connectivity I said before, you also have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And I see you still here? Okay, so I've got a big surprise for you. A big surprise. I love it. Because I think only Pentax has that right now. Well, you know there's IBIS in the body. And the IBIS you can move it, I said before, for the horizon. But also for stars. There is a star tracker. What is a star tracker? Well, maybe you don't know, but when you make pictures, the Earth rotates. Well, that part you knew, okay? Probably, I think. The Earth rotates, so if you take too long time, the exposure is too long, then you will have some star trail, because the Earth will have turned and you have a trail like this. So you have to calculate how long you can expose before this trail appears. There's a formula to calculate it, okay, no problem. Depending on the focal length you're using and the size of your sensor, it's around 30 seconds, more or less. If you want more than this and still have the stars without any trail, you need to have a tracer on your tripod, so it follows the stars at the same time as the Earth is rotating, and then you can still have a longer exposure. But also there's a way of doing it, is to actually move the sensor slightly to follow this. Well, you have this feature. It means you can keep your 100 ISO, for example, and be making a picture up to 5 minutes, so you get great quality. It's a lot better quality to be 5 minutes at 100 ISO than 30 seconds at 6400 ISO, okay? So this is fantastic, they have this feature. And then you have pixel shift. What is that? Well, this is the same as Olympus had for several years, and Sony about a couple of years ago, and Hasselblad. Is actually you make several pictures, well, the camera makes several pictures, moving the sensor just a slight bit, like half a pixel or 1 pixel, then they fuse all the pictures into one and they get higher resolution. And this is where I actually criticize Ricoh and Pentax in the way they make their marketing. On the website, it's a real disaster to have the information on how much resolution you get with this system. I could not find it. You have some explanation, then you have some PDF you can download, have more information, but this I could not find it, so I've got absolutely no idea on how much. If you get twice the resolution, 4 times, no idea, okay? But there is this feature. The autofocus has 101 points. Well, for some people that's too little, because I used to hear these crazy figures you see on mirrorless, but I think 101 is fantastic, no problem. With one autofocus point I'm happy, so imagine with 101, okay, no problem. The body is magnesium, it's incredible. I mean, that's why the weight 820 grams without lens. This is serious weight, but this is really built like a tank, okay? Honestly, if it was mine, I would drop it so you can see it. No, I would not drop it, you can see it, but honestly, if it accidentally drops, that's not a drama, I think. Well, so the camera, the K1 of Gregory that fell on the floor, and no problem, okay? The body is weather sealed and dust proof, and also freeze proof. Minus 10 degrees. So I understand why many people who are working in really hard conditions are using Pentax and are really happy with it, because they're real tanks. Another extra? Yeah, I give you an extra for free, okay? You also have what they call interval composites. What is that? Well, this is similar to what Olympus has, live composite. What is that? Well, I'll make a picture of a long exposure picture. Actually, it chains several pictures, and it only keeps what has been upgraded, what's new. So let's say I make a landscape, and there's a car passing by, or cars passing on the road there, and you have the light trails, and it will update only these trails. The rest was already captured from the first picture because exposure has not changed. You can also use it with light painting, someone is actually moving some fire or whatever, or for storm, when you have thunder and you have the lightning, you can actually keep that and it will catch different lighting and then stack everything into one picture. Okay, so really practical, something that is great and surprising to see on a reflex camera. So let's look at the cons and at the pro. Well, the list of cons is actually longer than the list of pro. On cons, I've got the LCD colors. If you forget to fine tune it, that looks really dull, really flat, and I didn't like it. So you must not forget to fix that. I would prefer to have this from fabric to get directly fine, but that's okay, okay? Then the play button, I think is wrongly placed, and you can easily be changing your aperture all the time, every time you're going to touch this button. Well, don't have to touch it all the time, but if you touch it, it can happen, okay? Then we look at the pros. Well, the pros is only one word. Everything. Everything. This camera is basically fantastic. Fantastic, honestly. I always say that for me right now, if we speak about reflex cameras, the 90D is probably one of the best cameras right now because you have many features, and also you have, if you go on live view, you have many features that you find only on mirrorless cameras. So if you take away this part of live view mirrorless camera, although this one have features like focus peaking, you can actually focus in manual mode and have focus peaking with the live view, okay, that's possible. I think then the 90D has many video features that may interest other people or this. But if we look at the photography part, the build part of the camera, I think this camera is better by far, okay? I think I would love to try at the same time the D500 by Nikon, but I don't have it. But that's also built like a tank, but the features in that Nikon are not as advanced as this one. So honestly, I think right now, if we look at reflex camera, this is probably the best reflex camera APS-C, okay? I speak about APS-C, okay? I think this is probably the best option you can get. So honestly, the only thing I can really criticize is the marketing and the distribution of this camera. That many countries you cannot find it. In Japan now you can only buy it online. They've decided to sell Ricoh and Pentax online only. And there are many places where I live, for example, you cannot find it, you have to order it, and maybe you would like to touch it in a shop, have a look at it, or this, but still you can order it online from anywhere, or in the shop they can order it, obviously. But I think this is only a dark point. And also when you look, the amount of lenses they have available is impressive. Is impressive because they have, I don't speak just about the old lenses, I speak the today's lenses. They have many APS-C lenses also, not just full frame, although you can put full frame lenses on this, but they have a special lineup of lenses for this. And I think the quality is really good. So honestly, I can, if you look for a reflex camera with high quality, great builds, great features, I can only recommend this camera. So thank you so much Digit Photo to give me the opportunity to test it. I'm really in love with this camera, honestly. And if you're interested in this camera, I'll leave you links of their shop in the description. Although they're in France, they sell worldwide, so no problem if you're interested, okay? So thank you to you for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Small button down here, so small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, can leave a comment below. I'll also leave you links of my gear on Amazon, links of everything I've reviewed by K&F Concept and Sandmark, and also a link to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. You can also do it under any video. There's a small heart with a small $sign. You can make a donation there too, but no obligation. It helps, huh? It helps, but no obligation. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.